Hi, friends and family out there. Thank you for tuning into my channel. Welcome to Angie Space. My name is Angela. If you're new to my channel talks about life issues, religion, faith, money management, children, work, etc. Today, I'd like to state something. I'm going to make this video short again. Basically, it's about this misconception that is out there within the Christian community. I've noticed a lot of pastors talk a lot about the Old Testament and mixing gospels from the Old Testament with the New Testament. Now, there's nothing wrong with talking about what has happened in the Old Testament and the God of the Old Testament. He still remains the same God. However, what I've noticed is a lot of pastors will take scriptures from the Old Testament that suits their needs and mix it with the New Testament. And as far as I'm concerned, and what I've seen since Christ came, died, and resurrected, everything that Christ stated in the New Testament stands. Anything that was stated in the Old Testament and was not reiterated by Christ and his apostles after him in the New Testament does not stand. I'll give you an example. In the Old Testament, if a woman was caught in the act of adultery, that woman was stoned to death. When Christ came, he abolished this because there was grace and mercy through Christ when he died for us. That was why he came, because we're not perfect. So stoning a person to death for committing adultery in the Old Testament would have continued, but Christ came and he changed that. I'll give you another example. A woman who was on her period could not enter the temple, wasn't allowed to do certain things like fasting or just going to pray or even being around a priest or being around her husband. She would be separated for a period of days or for however long that period lasted. However, after Christ came, that was not to be the case. That changed. The issue of a lot of people praying with the book of Psalms. A lot of people tell you, oh yeah, just pray this psalm, pray that psalm. I don't think this is correct. There's nothing wrong with carrying your grievances to God and crying out to God and telling him how you feel, how someone's done you wrong or whatever's happened. But using a particular psalm to pray against your enemies from the Old Testament to bring a change in your situation, I don't think this is what Christ meant when he says, bless those who curse you, pray for those who despitefully use you, bless your enemies, those who hate you, love them. When Jesus came, he brought about a new method of prayer. Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from all evil. For thou is the kingdom, forever and ever. Amen. This is Christ's mode of praying in the New Testament. This is how he taught his disciples to pray. And he told us different things about how to treat those who've treated us badly. Unfortunately, what I've noticed is a lot of pastors do not pray this way. A lot of pastors do not teach their parishioners to pray this way. We use the Old Testament when it pleases us and forget what Christ said or his apostles said after him. And I stand by this because I've read my Bible, I've read the Old Testament and I've read the New Testament. And believe you me, from what I've seen, what Christ said, there are some things from the Old Testament that still stands in the New Testament. Honor thy father and thy mother. There are other things, love thy neighbor as thyself. From the Old Testament, they say his commandment, God's commandments still stands. Those 10 commandments can be broken into different dimensions. They still stand. Don't steal, don't lie, don't kill. They stand. Do not serve other gods above me. They stand. And there are other things that were practiced under Moses' law in the Old Testament that some people are still doing now in their prayers and in their methods of carrying about as Christians. And I don't think this is right. I think that I know from what I've seen in the New Testament, if it is not reiterated, Whatever was in the Old Testament, if this is not reiterated or repeated in the New Testament, please stop following such practices. That is history. The New Testament is also history, but the New Testament's history is that this is the new history that we need to follow and not the Old Testament history. The Old Testament was to tell us how God used to do his own things before. Jesus was in the Old Testament, but remember, Jesus wasn't called Jesus in the Old Testament. He was known as the Lord of hosts. And amongst other names, Jehovah Jireh. He was known as different names. He was there in the beginning. But in the New Testament, when he came down to die for us, when he came in the flesh, he was called Jesus the Christ. And he came and changed a lot of the things, a lot of the condemnation from the Old Testament to the New. Notwithstanding, the 10 commandments still stand. So that's not a free bypass to say, oh, Jesus came and died so I can continue sinning, lying. No. As far as I'm concerned, if Jesus reiterated the old 10 commandments from the Old Testament in the New Testament, that still stands. But everything else, if you cannot find something from the Old Testament in the New Testament, please stop practicing that. I don't even want to go into the issue of tithing and how offering works and other things, and how people pray for their presidents to die, pray for their enemies to die. This is not what Jesus said. We've lost our way. Jesus himself says to pray for your rulers. Pray for them. Those that rule you, pray for them. Stop praying for them to die. Jesus did not ask you to pray for anybody to die. Even your masters that treat you badly, pray for them. Prayer is the key. There's nothing prayer can't do. It's not easy. Yes, believe me, it's not easy. I've been there. I would love to say that I've prayed for somebody to be punished very badly by God. No one's perfect, but we have to tell the truth. We cannot pretend like we don't know what the truth is. Like I said, whatever is not reiterated in the New Testament by Christ from the Old Testament shouldn't apply to our Christian walk at all. I think I kept this video under 10 minutes. Thank you once again for listening to me. If this, what I've said to you makes sense and you think that my message can be shared with other people, please feel free to share, and please like and subscribe to my channel for more updates and different things like this. Thank you so much again. And I'm wishing everybody a happy new year. God bless.